The Farmer and the Lost Seed. The farmer found the seed on the morning his land finally gave up on him. The soil lay cracked and pale beneath the rising sun, split open like old scars that refused to heal. No matter how many seasons he worked it, no matter how deep he plowed or how faithfully he prayed for rain, the earth answered him with silence. Crops withered before they could bloom. Wells dried into dust. Hope thinned until it felt like a memory instead of a feeling. His name was Iram. He had inherited this land from his father, and his father before him. Generations had lived and died believing the soil would always provide, until it didn't. Now the village whispered that the land was cursed. Some said Iram's family had offended the earth. Others said the gods had simply turned away. That morning, Iram knelt in the field with dirt under his nails and despair heavy in his chest. He pressed his palm to the ground, as if warmth might still be hiding beneath the surface. "Tell me what you want," he whispered. "I've given you everything." The ground did not answer. As he stood to leave, his heel struck something hard, small, smooth, and out of place. He bent down and brushed away the dust. A seed. Not a grain. Not a pebble. A seed, dark, polished, shaped like a teardrop, heavy for its size. It rested in his palm, strangely warm, as if it had a pulse. Iram frowned. Impossible. Nothing grew here anymore. Nothing fell from the sky. Seeds did not appear on dead land. He looked around. The field stretched empty in every direction. No footprints. No signs of travelers. Only the wind sighing over broken soil. He closed his fingers around the seed. For a brief moment, the air changed. The wind slowed. The sun felt closer, warmer, as if the world leaned in to watch. Iram slipped the seed into his pocket and walked home. His wife, Nura, stood at the doorway, her eyes tired but sharp. She had learned to read hope on his face long ago, and she saw none. "Nothing again?" she asked quietly. He shook his head, then hesitated. "I found something." He placed the seed on the wooden table. It gleamed faintly in the low light of their home. Nura stared. "What is it?" "I don't know," he said, "but it feels alive." She reached toward it, then pulled her hand back. "Iram, this land is sick. Anything that comes from it should be feared." He nodded, but his eyes remained fixed on the seed. "Or saved." That night, Iram dreamed. He stood in a field of endless green, stalks rising taller than his shoulders, heavy with grain. Rain fell gently, soaking the soil. The air smelled of life. In the center of the field stood a tree, massive, ancient, its roots glowing faintly beneath the earth. From its branches hung a single fruit, a seed. When he reached for it, the ground cracked open beneath him. Iram woke with a sharp breath, his heart pounding. The seed lay on the table beside him, glowing faintly in the darkness. Nura stirred. "You saw it too," she murmured. He swallowed. "You felt it." She nodded slowly. "Whatever that seed is, it's not ordinary." At dawn, word spread quickly through the village. Nothing stayed secret in a place where people had nothing left to lose. Neighbors gathered at Iram's farm, whispering, staring. An old man named Kalin pushed forward, his cane sinking into the dust. "That seed doesn't belong here," he said. "The land rejects it." A woman shouted, "Plant it! What do we have left to lose?" Another cried, "Burn it before it brings worse famine." The arguments grew louder, sharper, desperate. Iram raised his hands. "Enough." The crowd quieted, surprised by the strength in his voice. "This land has taken everything from us," he continued. "If this seed is a curse, then we are already cursed. But if it is hope, we cannot afford to turn away." Silence followed. Slowly, he knelt at the center of the field. The same cracked earth, the same lifeless soil. He pressed his fingers into the ground, digging with bare hands until they bled. Nura knelt beside him, her jaw tight but her eyes steady. Iram placed the seed into the hole. For a moment, nothing happened. The villagers began to murmur. Then the soil shifted. A faint tremor rippled through the ground. Dust lifted into the air. The seed vanished beneath the earth as if pulled downward by unseen roots. The ground sealed itself. Warmth spread beneath their knees. The air thickened, heavy with the scent of rain. Somewhere deep below, something stirred. Iram felt it, not as sound, not as movement, but as recognition. The land had noticed the seed, and it was waking up. That was the first thing Iram noticed when the villagers finally drifted away, muttering prayers and warnings under their breath. The sun climbed higher, yet the heat beneath the earth felt different, steady, patient, deliberate. Not the burning cruelty of drought, but the quiet warmth of something alive. Iram remained kneeling long after everyone left. His palms rested on the ground, his breath slow, his heart uneasy. "Did you feel that?" Nura asked softly. He nodded. "The land is listening." By nightfall, the field looked unchanged. No green broke the surface. No miracle announced itself. But the soil no longer cracked when the wind passed over it. It held together, as if stitched by unseen hands. Iram barely slept. Just before dawn, a scream cut through the village. He was on his feet instantly, running barefoot toward the field. Others followed, lanterns swinging wildly. When they reached the spot where the seed had been planted, the crowd froze. A shoot had emerged. Thin, pale, trembling, but alive. It pushed through hardened soil that had refused every crop for years. Steam rose faintly around it, curling into the cold morning air. A woman fell to her knees. "By the earth!" Kalen stepped forward, eyes wide. "This is not right," he whispered. "Nothing grows that fast." The shoot pulsed gently, as if breathing. Iram felt a strange ache in his chest. Pride, fear, responsibility. By midday, the shoot had grown taller than a man's hand. By evening, it had doubled again. Leaves unfurled, dark green, veined with faint gold lines that caught the sun. The land around it began to change. Soil softened. Insects returned. Birds circled overhead, confused, cautious. But beyond the field, the rest of the valley remained dead. Hope arrived, but it came with boundaries. That night, strangers came. They arrived quietly, cloaked and armed, eyes sharp with hunger. One of them knelt by the plant, knife already drawn. Iram stepped between them. "You will not touch it." The man scoffed. "That thing could save entire cities. You think it belongs to you?" "It belongs to the land," Iram said. "And the land chose this place." Steel flashed. Before the blade could fall, the ground shook violently. Roots burst upward, thick and twisting, wrapping around the attacker's wrist and slamming him into the dirt. The others staggered back in terror as the plant swayed, unharmed. The roots released the man slowly. The strangers fled before dawn. By morning, the plant had grown into a young tree. Its trunk shimmered faintly. Its roots spread outward beneath the soil like veins, pushing life wherever they reached. Grass began to grow in widening circles. Flowers bloomed where no seed had been sown. The village rejoiced. Too quickly, people came from distant lands, drawn by rumor and desperation. They begged for branches, for leaves, for seeds. "Just one," they pleaded. "We're starving." Iram wanted to say yes. Every part of him ached to share the miracle. But each time someone cut a leaf, the tree darkened. Each time a branch broke, the soil cooled. The tree was not infinite. That night, Iram dreamed again. He stood beneath the ancient glowing tree from his first vision. This time, its leaves were falling, each one turning to dust before touching the ground. A voice rose from the roots. Life taken without balance becomes death. He woke sweating. At dawn, he called the village together. "We must stop," he said. "No more cutting. No more taking." Anger erupted. "You would hoard life?" Someone shouted. "You would let others starve while you guard a tree?" Another cried. Iram's voice cracked. "This is not salvation. It is a test." That night, a mob came. Torches burned. Rage drowned reason. They surrounded the field, axes raised. Nura stood beside Iram, her hand in his. "If this is the end," she whispered, "I don't regret planting it." The first axe struck the trunk. The sky darkened instantly. The ground roared. Roots exploded upward, not in anger, but in grief. The earth split open. A wave of wind knocked everyone flat. Torches flew. The mob scattered in terror. When the dust settled, the tree was gone. In its place lay a single seed, smaller than before, duller, scarred. The land around it was green, but only there. Beyond that circle, nothing changed. The miracle had retreated. Iram knelt, tears cutting clean lines through the dust on his face. "I failed you." The seed was silent. Days passed. Then weeks. The green circle remained. No more, no less. Enough to feed the village. Not enough to conquer famine. People learned. They planted carefully. Took only what was needed. Shared without greed. The land healed slowly. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Nura touched Iram's shoulder. "Look." A second shoot had emerged, far smaller than the first. Not from the seed, from the land itself. Iram understood then. The seed was never meant to save them. It was meant to teach them. He smiled for the first time in years. The earth had not abandoned them. It had been waiting.